The entire global economy has a jugular vein. It's this tiny little strip of water, and if it ever gets blocked, well, everything could just grind to a halt. Today, we're going to dive into the world's most critical sea lanes and why one of them, in particular, holds the power to completely disrupt all of our lives.
So what exactly is a choke point? Well, the term is pretty literal. I want you to imagine a hand closing around your throat. It doesn't matter how strong the rest of your body is, right? Everything shuts down. That's exactly what these narrow sea passages are for the world's supply chain. If one gets blocked, the whole system's at risk of collapse. It's that serious.
And that brings us right to our first section, Dunya ki Shahrag, which translates to the world's jugular vein. We are, of course, talking about the most famous and arguably the most important choke point of them all, the Strait of Hormuz.
So, Section 2, Hormuz क्यों इतनी अहम or why is it so important? Let's really break down what makes this one tiny strip of water so incredibly vital to, well, the entire planet.
Okay, so geographically, just to get our bearings, it's this narrow passage that links the oil-rich Persian Gulf with the open ocean. You've got Iran on one side and the UAE and Oman on the other. For some of the world's biggest energy producers, this is literally the only way to get their product out by sea.
Now, the amount of traffic flowing through here, it's just mind-boggling. Every single day, a staggering 20 million barrels of oil pass through this strait. To put that into perspective, a huge chunk of the world's daily energy supply is funneled through this one single point. It's incredible.
And it's not just oil. About 20% of the entire world's liquefied natural gas, or LNG, also makes its journey through the Straits of Hormuz. So this isn't just about one type of fuel. It's a critical artery for multiple forms of energy that power our world.
Now, just for a second, imagine the catastrophic domino effect if Hormuz were to suddenly close. Major exporters like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, they couldn't get their energy to market. And on the flip side, some of the world's biggest importers, we're talking economic powerhouses like China, India, and Japan, would be starved of the energy that keeps their economies running.
So this brings up a really obvious question, right? I mean, given its strategic location, could a country like Iran just decide one day, hey, we're closing this? Or maybe start charging a toll for every ship that passes through?
Well, officially, the answer is a clear no. According to United Nations law, all ships are guaranteed what's called the right of innocent passage through streets like these. But let's be realistic here. In a time of war or a major conflict, international law often takes a backseat to military power. The rule of the game quickly becomes might is right.
Okay, moving on to our third section, Alami supply chain ki choke points, or the choke points of the global supply chain. Because, look, while Hormuz is a huge deal, it's actually just one vulnerable point in a much larger and, frankly, very fragile global network.
I mean, we all saw a perfect example of this fragility not too long ago. Remember the Ever Given? That one giant container ship that got stuck sideways in the Suez Canal? It was enough to paralyze a massive chunk of global trade. It took the theoretical risk of a choke point blockage and made it very, very real for all of us.
And the economic damage from that one incident, it was absolutely colossal. For 6 days, over 400 ships were just stuck in a massive maritime traffic jam. The estimated cost was $130 billion in economic disruption, all because of one ship in one narrow canal.
And here's the thing, the world is full of these potential weak spots. You've got the Suez Canal in Egypt, the Strait of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia, the Bab el-Mandeb near Yemen, and of course the Panama Canal over in Central America. Each one of these is a potential point of failure for the entire global system.
All right, so that brings us to Section 4, Pakistan Eliye Khatra, or the danger for Pakistan. Let's take this big global issue and bring it right back home, because we need to analyze what this all means for a country that is so heavily reliant on these very same supply chains.
So this is the really crucial question, isn't it? What happens to us when one of these global jugular veins gets blocked? How does a nation that completely depends on imported oil and goods survive in a world where that supply can be cut off in an instant?
Okay, so we've laid out the problem. We see the danger. Now for our final section, Aage ka rasta kya hai? Or what is the path forward? What are the clear, actionable steps a nation can actually take to protect itself from these kinds of shocks? The proposed solution is a really clear three-part strategy focused on national resilience. Step 1, you have to massively increase your strategic petroleum reserves to create a buffer against energy shocks. Step 2,
build national water dams, because water security is food security. And step 3, upgrade all your critical road and transport infrastructure to make sure you can move essential goods internally, even if the external routes are cut off.
Now, making this happen requires a complete and total rethinking of national spending. The idea is that every single available rupee needs to be redirected from things that aren't essential and poured directly into these 3 survival priorities: fuel, water, and infrastructure. This isn't about luxury projects. It's about building a national safety net.
And this kind of reprioritization is urgent, because the reality we're facing is pretty stark. The source material warns that the relatively peaceful period of global history we've all kind of gotten used to, well, that's over. The world is entering a new era of conflict, which means these kinds of supply chain disruptions are going to become more, not less common.
So that leaves us with one final critical question. A question that really every citizen and every leader needs to ask themselves. Looking at all these vulnerabilities and seeing the turbulent times that are likely ahead, is our nation truly prepared for what's coming next?